YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
The time is 10 a.m.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store reading service. My name is Gay, and we invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and noon each weekday. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a programmed radio. Our first report comes from the Springfield News-Leader and reporter Susan Sanchez. Ozarks schools cancel classes, move classes online due to snow. While the snow has mostly stopped for now, school districts and colleges in the area are either canceling classes for Monday or moving to alternative methods of instruction like online learning. According to a local report, the National Weather Service in Springfield, the Ozarks area has received anywhere from 10 inches of snow to 6.5 inches of snow as of noon on Sunday, January 25th. While some main roads in Springfield have been cleared, other places are reporting poor roadway conditions leading to school cancellation. If you want to know more of your school cancellations, please refer to your school district's website. Next, we have a report from Marta Mayaz. Greene County deputy shoots woman while responding to well-being check. A woman was shot by a Greene County sheriff's officer responding to a well-being check the evening of Saturday, January 24th. At roughly 8:30 p.m. Saturday, someone responded to the 3700 block of North Bear Creek Avenue, north of Springfield, to check on a woman's well-being after a report that a person was suicidal, according to the Greene County Sheriff's Office. The release said a woman answered the door and brandished a firearm. According to Sheriff's Office, she pointed the gun at a deputy who then discharged his firearm, shooting the woman. Medical care was rendered on scene by deputies until medical responders arrived. The woman was transported to the hospital by EMS. No other injuries were reported. This is an ongoing investigation with other information released as it becomes available. Greene County Sheriff Jim Arnott has activated the Sheriff's Critical Incidents Team to assist with the investigation. This team is comprised of investigators from Christian, Lawrence, and Webster counties. Longtime Nixa superintendent is battling Parkinson's disease with love of his wife and sons. This report from the Springfield Daily Citizen by Steve Pokin. In his vivid dreams, Stephen Klein-Smith is once again on the baseball field. His son Elijah says that he hears his father say in his sleep, "Focus on the ball." In his dreams, he's coaching kids playing baseball. Klein-Smith was a baseball player in college long before he became superintendent of Nixa schools in 2000, and long before he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at the age of 50. He left Nixa in 2018 after giving the school board 3 years of notice. He was a pitcher and a catcher at Mesa Community College in Arizona, where he homered in his first at-bat. He played a year at Creighton University in Omaha and then 3 years in center field for Wayne State College in northeast Nebraska. Levopa, behind the frequency of intensity of his dreams, it's the main drug used to treat the muscle tremors of Parkinson's disease, a movement disorder of the nervous system that worsens over time. It is in those dreams that Klein-Smith, now age 70, legs out a triple and throws a laser to gun down a runner's foolish enough to try to score. "I loved the sport," he says. "I still remember the smell of a catcher's mitt." Today, he shuffles with the help of a cane, his facial muscles are rigid, and although his mind is sharp, his speech is a bit labored. The speech impairment is called aphasia. The disease initially progressed more slowly than expected. In retirement, he and his wife Carrie moved out of the Nixa School District into the Millwood subdivision in Springfield, where there is a golf course. He is an avid golfer, and for years in retirement, he golfed for fun. But his mobility has declined significantly in the past 2 years. Klein Smith had his second back surgery a few weeks ago. He had a hip replacement in February 2025. He also has Crohn's disease, a type of inflammatory bowel disease that causes swelling and irritation in the digestive tract. My number one problem this past year has been I've fallen on my hind end more times than I can tell you, he says. Klein Smith also has had cellulitis, a skin infection. I am the healthiest, disease-ridden person you'll ever know, he says. From an early age, Klein Smith wanted to be a school superintendent like his father, who headed the school district in Ralston, Nebraska, a suburb of Omaha. I was hell-bent on being superintendent of schools, Klein Smith said. There was nothing that was going to stop me. I lived a life that had that focus in mind. I had that drive. I had a great deal of drive, and nothing would hold me back. In reflecting on his life, Klein Smith also mentions his father, who died from brain tumors at the age of 60. Dad was a good dad, he says. He worked hard. He taught me to have a positive attitude toward my profession and to make it a career more than a job. Above all else, it was important to have a great work ethic. Klein Smith started as a teacher and coach. Yes, he coached baseball. And then he took a series of administrative positions at different school districts, always with one more responsibility and always with the objective of becoming a superintendent. Klein Smith is proud of his career in education. He has a sense of achievement. He has heeded the advice of his father. He worked hard and with passion. It was never just a job. But there's something bittersweet when he expands his field of view and looks back on his life as a whole. He feels a tinge of regret. Throughout my life, I've had periods, long periods, of being a workaholic, he says. People may hear that and say, "Oh, aren't we special?" It's just, I'm being honest. There were many nights I was away from my boys and my wife. That can put stress on a family. No matter how hard you look at protecting your family from a father who's a workaholic, you drift into pretty soon it becomes a habit. Carrie and Stephen went on their first date in April 1989 and were married on December 22nd the same year. She was a first grade teacher, and he was the principal of a private school in a nearby city. He was 33, she was 26. Carrie never met Stephen's father, but realizes Stephen is like him in many ways. Yes, Carrie says her husband was a workaholic. I have several different things that I like and enjoy doing, she says. My job was my job, even though I loved it. His job was his whole way of life. But he grew up with a dad that was like that. He also is a very loving man. He is very loving toward our boys and me, and his focus wasn't always on us. Carrie was a teacher first and then a school counselor. She eventually worked with Stephen in the Nixa School District. They have 2 sons, Elijah, 32, who lives in Kansas City, and Jacob, 27, who lives in Springfield. When we had our oldest son, I think Stephen just got more distant as far as just really being more career focused, she says. We both wanted to have another child. But before having a second child, Carrie says Stephen promised they would not move for another 4 years. Nevertheless, Jacob was born 18 months later, and they promptly moved to Nixa, where Stephen had a job he always sought, superintendent. Once in Nixa, Carrie was reluctant to move again, but Stephen often was contacted by various school districts, including Springfield, that were interested in hiring him. He was in demand. He would not have stopped applying and moving, Carrie says. I think at some point, I don't know that I would have followed, especially knowing he would just be more focused on a new job. I don't want to predict negativity, but I think that I would have resented that, and that's not a good thing to have in a long-term marriage, she says. Everything changed when Stephen was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He stopped entertaining the notion of moving to a different, bigger school district. I wish I would have learned the lesson that I needed to learn without having Parkinson's, he says. But Parkinson's was the vehicle that put me in check. I think it brought us closer than ever before. We thought we had a good marriage. We did and we do. I've been married for 37 years, but it had a way of bringing us together. It's all worked out, Carrie says. You know, life just kind of does. Stephen had an infection in his elbow and went to see his doctor. The nurse said, "Oh, by the way, you have a tremor in your finger and you need to have that checked out." He eventually went to the Mayo Clinic to have it checked out to rule out Parkinson's. Instead, it was confirmed. I was 50 years old, he says. I was at the top of my game, and I had opportunities throughout the state, including one in our own backyard. I was just at the prime of my career when I got kicked in the groin. It was Parkinson's, and I thought, holy crap. It was a major disruption in my goals and aspirations, not to mention being a father. Carrie remembers thinking, he's 50 and I'm 43, and we have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old. I guess I felt like my job as a wife was, we have to accept this and we have to move on from this. We can grow closer with this, and that's exactly what happened. The boys were too young to feel the impact of the diagnosis. I was sort of optimistic in a way that maybe only a kid could be, Elijah says. I don't recall that it really emotionally impacted me as a kid so much, certainly not as much as it has in the more recent years when you see him struggle more. I remember thinking by the time it's going to get bad, they'll have figured something out, Elijah says. It comes a long way, but it's progressive disease, and I don't know that they're any closer to a cure. Elijah says he is often asked how his father is doing. It's not like one day I'm going to say, he's doing so much better, he says. The truth is that it's moving in one direction. It's always sort of getting worse over time. You're kind of bracing for the future in some ways, but you just tackle one thing at a time. Both sons see their father as career-oriented, but not necessarily a workaholic. He was very, very present, Elijah says. He would always make it home for dinner, and he was a great dad growing up. Their father always made it to their sporting events and coached in baseball. He has the intuition about him that is remarkable, Elijah says. He tends to be right about a lot of stuff, so much so that I don't like to let him always know when he is. He just has that remarkable intuition for the type of advice you might need. Jacob said it is hard for him to see the disease progress. That's been the hardest thing for me as his son to witness, he says. I struggle with the whole thing. It's anticipating the grief of the disease taking over my father. Elijah remembers the time in high school when he told his father he was done with sports and wanted to focus on speech and debate. He says his father responded well and respected his decision. Jacob recalls when he told his father he was done with baseball. His father didn't miss a comedic beat and asked him, "Well, where do you plan on living?" Former board member Klein Smith was a respected voice throughout Missouri. Brent Dunn was on the Nixa School Board 14 years. 12 of those where Klein Smith was the superintendent. He has an incredible sense of humor, Dunn says. Oh my gosh, we'd be in tears laughing so hard. Klein Smith was known and respected in education circles throughout the state. He had a good sense of education and what it would be like in the future, Dunn says. It seems to me that he always was ahead of his time and he loved being with students. That is what drove him, and he believed truly in public education. Nixa was and still is a great school district. He was so dedicated to the district, but I think he was more dedicated just to the idea of keeping up with public education and the trends. We had a lot of growth in Nixa during this time, and he understood financing. He was great with legislators. He was a great relationship builder with the community. Klein Smith says the most important leadership skill for a superintendent is communicating effectively with various audiences. He reviewed his job as a conductor of an orchestra. As a superintendent, you can't be the expert on everything. You hire the best and brightest leaders of curriculum, instruction, budget, finance, custodial maintenance, food service, and transportation. I was not somebody hired to be an expert at school finance, Kleinsmith said. I hired the best finance director in the state. There was no need to compete with her skill set. I just needed to provide leadership. Kleinsmith was referring to Brenda Rance, the district's chief financial officer. Peggy Tyler was the Nixa school board when Kleinsmith was hired in 2000. Here's what stood out when the board chose him. Personality and charisma, she says. He was such a people person. He remembered names, he remembered families, he remembered activities that were going on no matter what building. He came in and he wanted each board member to give him 10 names of people he needed to meet in the first 100 days on the job, she says. Gerald Loden says he knew Nixa would be a good place to work in part because of Kleinsmith held the superintendent's position for 18 years. We're kind of like preachers, Loden says. If you see a preacher stay somewhere for a while, that usually says a lot. I think the research shows that superintendents generally stay 3 to 4 years. Dr. K, Kleinsmith, was here 18. Dr. K was easy to work with in the transition, Loden says. Very supportive, very pro-Nixa, and very pro-education. Kleinsmith says he helmed a very good school district that has since become a great school district. Mentors recall Kleinsmith's outgoing personality. Kleinsmith calls Keith Lutz his greatest mentor. Lutz was the superintendent of Millard Public Schools outside of Omaha in Nebraska. Kleinsmith worked in various administrative jobs in Millard, which is near Ralston, where Kleinsmith's father once was superintendent. Kleinsmith was working in Millard when he was hired by Nixa. He taught me the art of strategic planning, Kleinsmith said. He taught me the importance of effective communication. Lutz, 78, retired in 2014 after 20 years as superintendent. He wanted to be superintendent, and his logical step would have probably been to wait for me to retire, but I didn't retire till I was 67, Lutz said, so I got a hunch he was in a bigger hurry than that. He had a super personality, he was very outgoing, and had a wonderful family. Carrie Kleinsmith says her husband still managed to gulp up life when he can. For everything he deals with, he really does live in a pretty positive state, she says. One day he can be like, you wouldn't have known anything was wrong with him, she says. Then we might have 2 or 3 days where he's really struggling. Steve has always got rose-colored glasses on everything, and so I never want to tell his story. I want him to tell his story. His perception of how he's doing is different than what I see sometimes. Carrie agreed to be interviewed for the story, but requested that she be interviewed separately so that she and her husband could give their own individual perspectives. I just love him where he is, she says. That's my daily goal with him. I realize in my marriage where I'm at and with him and his health, on the good days, I can serve love. My bad days are just part of it, and that's okay too. Everybody's marriages are different. Mine is at a point where it's just more about serving love, showing up for him, and accepting him where he is. That report was from Stephen Pokin. Next report is from the Springfield Daily Citizen and reporter Joe McIntyre. Republic School District facing second racial discrimination lawsuit since 2024. A former Republic High School student and his mother filed a 65-page lawsuit against this district January 12th, alleging that the black teen experienced bullying, discrimination, and harassment. The district settled a different racial discrimination lawsuit in June of 2025. The most recent suit alleges that between 2021 and 2025, Tyreek Williams, now 19, was subject to racial harassment several times every week. Other students called him racial slurs, and Tyrone was referring to black people as slaves, according to the lawsuit. Williams allegedly faced bullying that escalated until he was assaulted at school. The suit states that his mother, Alicia Hornbuckle, continually asked the school district to address the harassment. It claims that the district refused to end the harassment from other students and retaliated against Hornbuckle for complaining, while teachers and football coaches allegedly exhibited desperate treatment of Williams. In a statement sent to local news outlets, the Republic School District states that its administrators, quote, categorically deny the allegations, end quote, that are contained in the lawsuit. The Republic School District is committed to working in partnership with families to support positive learning experience that shape students for future success, the statement continues. While we strive to resolve concerns through collaboration, meaning resolution depends on respectful and constructive interaction. The district will not tolerate behavior that undermines the safety or well-being of students or staff, including threats, intimidation, or manipulation directed toward teachers, coaches, and administrators. We are confident the facts of this case will be addressed through the legal process and will not comment further at this time. The lawsuit describes events that allegedly took place during each of the 4 years Williams was a student at Republic High School. It states that beginning in his freshman year, Williams' football coach treated him more harshly than his peers who were white. The coach, quote, would often call Williams chicken legs and told him he needed to gain weight to play football, according to the lawsuit. During practices, white players allegedly made comments including, "You're only good because you're black," and "How are you black and not starting?" In his sophomore and junior years, the suit stated that other students began to make comments and memes about Williams' nose and called him racial slurs. Additionally, the suit states that some teachers neglected to accommodate Williams' 504 plan, causing him to struggle in classes. His mother spoke to school staff about the classroom accommodations outlined in the plan and his declining emotional and mental state due to ongoing racial harassment, the lawsuit states. In January 2025, a member of the district staff sent Hornbuckle an email threatening to charge her with trespassing for appearing at school functions or on school property, according to the document. The suit claims that on January 15, 2025, Williams was assaulted at school by the same student who had been harassing him about his appearance and nose. The district allegedly failed to inform Hornbuckle about the assault, leaving the student to FaceTime his mom from the nurse's office. The harassment and discrimination were sustained, interconnected, linked, and of similar nature and pattern, such that they exhibited a constant hostile learning environment for Plaintiff Williams, the lawsuit states. It claims that the harassment was terrifying at times. In June 2025, the Republic School District settled a John Doe lawsuit filed in February 2024. The plaintiff was a black high school student and athlete. According to the lawsuit, he was subjected to racist jokes, called racial slurs, treated more harshly than white teammates, and assaulted by one of the students who bullied him. The bullying and racial harassment described in this lawsuit allegedly began during a summer wrestling camp at Republic High School in 2022, according to the lawsuit. In November 2022, the student injured his hip during practice. The lawsuit claims that a peer who had previously called the student a racial slur assaulted him by kicking or attempting to kick him while he was on the floor. The Republic School District denies any wrongdoing. Per its settlement agreement with the plaintiff, the district agreed to pay $80,000, with $29,000 going to the plaintiff's attorney. As other conditions of the settlement, the district agreed to hold training sessions on bullying, hazing, discrimination, harassment, and retaliation for teachers, administrators, and students for grades 5 through 12. Zoe McIntyre was the author of that report. From the Springfield Daily Citizen and author Jackie Rewald. Springfield woman pleads guilty to federal charges for her role in affordable towing fraud scheme. A second person has pleaded guilty in federal court for her role in the affordable towing mail fraud scheme, in which false documents were submitted to the Missouri Department of Revenue to obtain mechanics liens and titles for vehicles that had previously been reported stolen. Christy Engel, 49, pled guilty on Friday, January 23rd to 1 count of mail fraud, 1 count of aggravated identity theft, and 1 count of money laundering. According to the plea agreement, Engel worked as an employee for Dennis Cleveland, the former owner of Affordable Towing. Cleveland directed his employees, one of whom was Engel, to submit fraudulent documents to the Missouri Department of Revenue. The purpose of the documents was to obtain substitute or replacement mechanics liens and vehicle titles that would allow Cleveland, through Affordable Towing, to sell the vehicles. A news release said, in each instant, the documents submitted by Engel at the direction of Cleveland claimed to have received permission from the vehicle's owners. Upon reviewing the documents, it was discovered that none of the listed vehicle owners gave England, Cleveland, or Affordable Towing permission to seize or sell their vehicles. In those documents, a signature in the name of the vehicle's owners was confirmed to be forgery. Engel, according to a plea agreement, was able to obtain a replacement lien or title from the Department of Revenue. Cleveland would then sell the vehicles at his used car dealership. In instances where Engel was unable to obtain a replacement title or mechanics lien, the vehicle was sold to a scrapyard, according to the plea agreement. Under either circumstance, Engel carried out criminal acts at Cleveland's direction, who then took all the proceeds from the vehicle sale or scrapping of the vehicles for himself, the release said. Each of the vehicles involved in this scheme were confirmed to have been reported stolen, and Engel, Cleveland, or Affordable Towing did not have permission to possess, sell, or scrap any of these vehicles. Cleveland pleaded guilty to the same charge in December 2025 and is waiting sentencing. Cleveland was previously convicted of leading a conspiracy to illegally tamper with the emission controls of the company's diesel towing vehicles. He was sentenced to spend 2 years in federal prison in 2023, but was released December 31st of 2024. Engel faces up to 20 years in federal prison for the offense of mail fraud. She faces up to 10 years in federal prison for the offense of money laundering and is subject to a sentence of 2 years to run consecutively to the mail fraud and money laundering for the offense of aggravated identity theft. That report was from Jackie Rewald, and she works at the Springfield Daily Citizen. Greene County offices, circuit courts are closed today, Monday, January 26th. All Greene County offices, departments, and circuit court facilities will be closed Monday, January 26th due to ongoing road conditions and the extreme cold warning in effect until noon Tuesday, according to a news release. County offices are scheduled to reopen at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, January 27th, unless the Greene County Commission decides to close again following a weather assessment Monday evening. Crews with the Greene County Highway Department, which is operating in 12-hour shifts with 40 plows during the day and 20 plows at night, have cleared 70% of assigned routes across the county, according to the release. They expect to reach 80 to 90% by late morning and clear any routes that remain covered throughout the day. In addition to offices being closed, Springfield City Council's January 26 meeting has been postponed due to winter weather. The Springfield City Council's regular bi-monthly meeting, scheduled for Monday, January 26, will be postponed out of the caution for residents and city staff, as temperatures are expected to continue to drop following a 2-day snow event that dropped more than 6 inches of snow in Springfield. The rescheduled meetings will take place at 6:30 on Monday, February the 2nd at the Springfield Regional Police and Fire Training Center, located at 2620 West Battlefield Road. There will not be any additions to the agenda for the rescheduled meeting, according to a news release from the City of Springfield. A report from the Springfield News-Leader by Marta Mayaz. Springfield Convention Center plans will begin pre-design processing. Springfield voters will be asked to vote a second time on a proposed lodging tax increase to fund a new convention center in April. In preparation and in hopes of swaying more voters, the city has engaged architects to collect public feedback and create a more cohesive vision of what the development will look like. Over the summer, city leaders received a report pointing to a need for a new 125,000 square foot convention center in Springfield, estimated to cost about $175 million to construct. On April 7th, Springfield voters will be asked whether to raise the current lodging tax, which is paid by anyone booking hotel rooms and short-term rentals in the city. It will be expected to be increased by 3 percentage points in order to fund the construction, operation, and maintenance of the project. This will be a second time voters are asked to, after it was rejected in November, though since then the city has added a 35-year sunset on the lodging tax increase and shared that the convention center project would renovate and expand on the city's exposition center at 635 East St. Louis Street. The city has selected Populous, a Kansas City-based global architecture firm, to work on the project. Currently, they are engaged for the pre-design development portion. But Tim Rosenberry, the city's director of Quality of Place Initiatives, said if the April ballot measure is successful, Populous would remain as the architect on the project as it moves forward. 9 architecture firms responded to the city's request for qualifications, with Populous selected out of the 4 finalists that were interviewed. They have been behind some major feats around the globe, including the Las Vegas Sphere. The firm's convention center portfolio includes the BMO Center in Calgary, an Expo Center in Waco, Texas, and Oklahoma City's Convention Center. Most of these projects are set in much larger cities than Springfield, so why would they come here? Adam Pokulatz, principal at Populous and design director for the firm's convention and exhibition center practice, told local media on Friday, January 23rd, that the industry trends are showing a greater need for, quote, second-tier space for mid-size events that cannot fill centers in major cities like Los Angeles and Dallas. He also highlighted that it was exciting to take on a project that the firm could start from scratch without existing baggage. Cities like Springfield are at the cutting edge of being able to do something different, he said. In the next 6 weeks, the team will work on engaging with local stakeholders and the general public to hear what the community's needs are for the event space, beyond simply holding conventions. The goal is to think outside the box and build for the future rather than only considering current needs. The architects will set the Hunden Partners report the city received as ground zero, he said, to further explore and detail what is possible within the $175 million budget. Several meetings will be held with different groups, including event organizers, to encourage creative thinking and push the envelope in what the center could look like and what it could offer. Colleen Cassidy, Associate Principal at Populous, is the design manager for this project. She said considering the needs and factors that are attractive to younger generations is key to a forward-thinking design that can ensure the center serves decades in the future. I think that's what we mean about those uncomfortable ideas is, really pushing outside the box of certain industries or ideas or opportunities that you may not have yet. That if we talk about it really early in the process could have potential possibility for you in the future, she said. It's not just really that you need it today, but give you the opportunity that you never imagined or things that will help you grow for the next 20, 30, and 40 years. Cassidy added that beyond the actual physical space, the conversations surrounding the convention center have to also focus on the events that will occupy it. She said the goal is to have, quote, no dark days, times when the center sits dark and empty. That means finding opportunities to adding additional community programming to ensure the space is used even when conventions are not booked, whether that is for sports events or even farmers markets. City's chief spokesperson, Cora Scott, said the process will include convening a community advisory team and a technical advisory team that gather a diverse group of community members to weigh in on the project. Those will be in addition to general public engagements. Ahead of City Council sending the lodging tax increase to the ballot, City Manager David Cameron presented that the city expects to have a conceptual visual of the project to present by March 6th. The decision was made in response to community feedback that noted additional details and information were necessary to build confidences in the project. The engagement and input gathering in the next several weeks will inform how the architects have put together a visual concept to present. While the consultant's report included the sellable space, the building should include, such as a certain ballroom size and meeting rooms. Populous will lay out a full program of functional space for lobbies and restrooms and kitchens to stairs and so much more. That includes building in focus or trends that appeal to modern visitors, like natural light and adaptability for future changes in those trends to ensure additional remodels are not necessary. To us, it's not the beauty of the building, it's the function and the place it holds in the community first. The aesthetics come second, Cassidy said. Puchalot and Populous will look at what is realistically possible to be built for the total of $175 million budget and how it could fit in the space, while the additional connected hotel that the consultant's report indicated as necessary for the convention center success has not been secured. He said the concept will also consider the orientation of the building and where the potential hotel could connect to the center. He said that it is typical for the development for a convention center to precede a hotel being built. Rosenberry said there are no updates on the city's property acquisition talks for properties surrounding the current city-owned property at the current Expo Center and the adjacent vacant lot. He said it is not yet certain whether the rendering expected in early March would envision only the current property or the possible acquisition too. This process will probably help figure that out, Rosenberry said. Who knows what could happen in the next 4 weeks? Rosenberry told the Springfield News-Leader the full contract has not yet been signed with Populous. However, for the initial pre-designed work, he said the city will pay between $300,000 and $400,000. This amount is a portion of the total $750,000 council appropriated in tourism funds reserve in October to go toward initial costs of convention center planning. If the tax passes and the city secures financing for the overall project, it would reimburse itself for those costs. If the project comes to fruition, Rosenberry said, the contract will include a contingency that if the vote passes in April, Populous would complete more work. The pre-design process will help work out the scope from which the actual fee amount for the additional work would be calculated. The total amount going to the architecture for the entirement of the project is already accounted for in the total $175 million construction cap, Rosenberry said. He estimated that the total architecture price for the entire scope could come to as close as $10 million. The first visioning workshop with Populous will be held on Wednesday, January 28th from 5:30 to 7 at the Discovery Center in Springfield. Cassidy says that this will be more presentation-forward sessions with the ability for attendees to ask questions and visit with the professional team after. Future workshops, one set to be scheduled the week of February 9th, will be more open house style, she said, where the public can share their thoughts and feedback on what the convention center should be. Marta Maez is a reporter for the Springfield News-Leader. The Blind Community Thrift Store is a spacious 17,000 square foot thrift store located in Springfield, Missouri. It holds the distinction of being the first retail store worldwide to incorporate NaviLens technology, which significantly enhances accessibility for the blind, visually impaired, and non-English speaking individuals. This innovative system enables customers to navigate and shop with minimal assistance, fostering independence and confidence. The store operates as a nonprofit organization dedicated to generating funds that support the provision of adaptive technology training for the blind and visually impaired community, often at little to no cost. Visitors can learn more about the organization and access its services by visiting the store in person at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri, or by exploring the website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The website offers comprehensive information about the store's mission, services and opportunities for community involvement, as well as details about the free store available to residents in the Springfield area. Our next report comes from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Springfield Symphony's Young People's Concert brings music to thousands of local students. Here is a notice that was recently posted. Due to weather and the safety of everyone involved, including our musicians, volunteers, Springfield Symphony staff, Hammonds Hall staff, and of course our patrons, the January 27th concerts have been rescheduled to March 9th. Now we will continue with the report. For more than 50 years, the Springfield Symphony's Young People's Concert, also called YPC, has helped students in Southwest Missouri discover live orchestral concert music. Many children who attend this concert each year are hearing a full orchestra in person for the very first time. The event has become an important tradition for schools and families across the region. The postponed concert, which was set for January 27th, it will be Springfield's 55th Young People's Concert. Students from every Springfield R12 school will attend along with students from more than 50 other school districts. Many private, parochial, rural, and homeschool students will also be part of the event. 2 student performances are scheduled. The concerts bring in thousands of students to the Juanita K. Hammond Center. Before coming to the concert, many teachers use study materials provided by the symphony to help students get ready. Classes may learn about the music they will hear, explore different instruments, or talk about what to expect at a live performance. This preparation helps students feel more comfortable and excited when they arrive. On concert day, thousands of students travel by school bus or with their homeschool groups to the performance. For many, it is the first time inside a concert hall like Hammond's Hall. The room fills with the sound of happy voices as students take their seats. Then the noise slowly fades as the orchestra begins to warm up. When the conductor steps onto the stage and the first notes are played, the experience truly begins. The Young People's Concert reaches far beyond Springfield. Each year, many rural school districts bring students to the show. Some of these schools do not have many opportunities to see live performances. Because of cost, travel distance, or limited community resources, students in smaller communities may not have the opportunity to see a professional orchestra anywhere else. The Springfield Symphony makes it possible for many of these students to attend. Teachers and administrators across the region say that this concert is one of the most exciting and memorable school events of the year. It gives children a chance to experience something new and inspiring. The learning does not end when the music stops. After each performance, teachers talk with their students about what they heard. Students may discuss how the music made them feel, what instruments they recognized, or what they learned about musical history. These conversations help students understand the concert, but they understand the concert better and connect it to their regular schoolwork. Many adults in the Springfield area say they still remember attending the Young People's Concert when they were young. Some even say the experience helped them decide to join band or orchestra programs later on. For many students, this concert can spark a long-lasting interest in the arts. In addition to the student concerts during the day, the symphony will perform the same Young People's Concert as a free evening show for the entire community. The 2026 Race to the Symphony performance is part of Positronic Family Series, which focuses on creating fun and affordable musical events for families. Grand Prix racing champion Mario Spagata and Andretti will team up to introduce families to a night of turbocharged music selections at the Symphony. The free community concert gives children, parents, and neighbors the chance to enjoy the same educational programs that students hear earlier in the day. It is a great way for families to experience live orchestra music together at no cost. Tickets are complimentary thanks to the extra generosity of our sponsors, Positronics, Nicholas and Jamie Altrup, whose support makes it possible to cover the cost of tickets that sales would normally provide. The Young People's Concert is one of the Symphony's biggest educational programs, which is not the only way the Symphony helps young people learn about music. Ensembles in schools send small groups of Springfield Symphony musicians to elementary and middle schools to perform short, live musical demonstrations. These performances usually last about 30 minutes and are designed to help students hear different musical styles, learn how instruments make sound, and see how music can express feelings. Another outreach program is Symphony on the Move. With the program, symphony ensembles come into community spaces, community centers, or other familiar places to perform for people who might not be able to travel to a concert hall. For students who want to be more involved with the symphony throughout the year, there is the Half Notes Kids Club. Children between the ages of 8 and 15 years old can join the club with a parent or guardian. Members receive a special discounted ticket rates for selected concerts and may even get a backstage tour at one of the concerts. The club helps make attending shows more affordable and builds excitement for music by giving kids special chances to connect with the symphony. As the Springfield Symphony prepares for its 55th Young People's Concert, it is clear why this event has remained important for so many decades. It gives thousands of students a chance to hear live music, learn about instruments, and explore new ideas. It helps young people see that the arts belong to everyone, no matter where they live or what school they attend. For many students, the YPC is more than a school trip. It's an exciting and inspiring experience that they will remember for many years. And the addition of the free performance, even more people in the Ozarks will get to hear the music. Again, that concert, which was slated for earlier, has been postponed by the Springfield Symphony staff. It will be heard on January 27th. The January 27th concert has been rescheduled for March 9th. If you are interested in attending that concert, which has now been rescheduled to March 9th, you need to contact the Springfield Symphony Orchestra. The next report is from the Springfield News-Leader and Susan Sanchez. Springfield Brewery files for bankruptcy but will continue operations. This week in 417 Foodie News, an area brewery files for bankruptcy, a Honduran restaurant opens, and a downtown Springfield restaurant closes its doors. Local brewery 4x4 Brewing Company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Western District Court of Missouri on January 15th, according to court records, a move that owners are calling a strategic restructuring to strengthen their financial future. The brewery said it is reorganizing its debt with a private investor after an attempt at public fundraising. Like many small breweries, we've faced significant financial headwinds in recent years, owners said in a press release. This restructuring allows us to realign our finances, strengthen operations, and keep doing what we love, serving our community and brewing great beer. Despite the change, taproom operation staff and events will continue as normal, including upcoming beer releases and seasonal promotions, the release said. Chapter 11 bankruptcy is a formal process that allows a company to come to an agreement with creditors to resolve the debtor's financial shortcomings by reorganizing existing assets rather than selling them, according to the Cornell's Law School's Legal Information Institute. This allows the company to continue operating. 4 couples opened the brewery in 2017. Chris and Shyla Schaefer, Derek and Danielle Shamil, Justin and Stacy Steinberger, and Steve and Kelly Dobbs. Hence the name 4x4 Brewing Company. It has 2 locations, one at 2811 East Galloway Street in Springfield and one at 9003 Sawgrass Avenue in Nixa. Honduran restaurant opens in Springfield. El Ranchero de Honduras, which translates to the little corner of Honduras, is now open at 1820 West Kansas Street. Its hours are 10 to 9 Monday through Saturday and 10 to 4 on Sunday. The restaurant serves Honduran food as well as a Chinese food menu. Honduran offerings include palo condadas, which include fried chicken, sliced green plantains, tomato sauce, and other goodies. Downtown Springfield restaurant closes its doors. The Wheelhouse, which was located at 307 South Jefferson, closed on January 17th. The Mexican Thai fusion restaurant had opened its location in May after years at the Vibe Hotel. We hate to say goodbye, but it has become economically unsustainable to keep operating at this level. The team deserves stability, and that is something we have struggled with since opening in May, the restaurant said in its January 17th Facebook post. Restaurants are a tough business, and while the restaurant was everything we could have hoped for and more, the business has unfortunately didn't follow. The next report comes from the Springfield News-Leader from Michelle Del Rey. This startup wants to build the first hotel on the moon. As Americans prepare to once again attempt to reach the moon, something that hasn't been done in more than 50 years, one startup company has grand plans to be the first to put a hotel on Earth's only natural satellite. GRU Space, a San Francisco-based startup, wants to build the first hotel on the moon by 2032. The company announced its news on January 12th. GRU has even started asking potential customers to put down a $1 million deposit to stay at the yet-to-be-completed structure on the moon. According to the company, the cost to stay in the hotel would be an estimated $416,000 per night. If accomplished, the hotel would be the first ever permanent off-Earth structure built in history, with a capacity to accommodate 4 guests for several days. US Today asked GRU how many people had signed up to be one of the company's first customers, but did not get an immediate response. How would the Moon Hotel be built? What might it look like? To build the structure, GRU expects to construct the initial hotel on Earth and ship it to the moon as is. It will then be inflated on the moon's surface. The first iteration of the hotel is expected to last 10 years, while the second is expected to last 20. The company expects to begin construction of the first hotel in 2029, pending regulatory approval. The second iteration will be built using local materials with more capable construction methods, the company said. The hotel will be partially situated in lunar pits to maximize shielding and provide a stable thermal environment, the company noted. The second iteration of the hotel is inspired by the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, which was constructed in Greco-Roman architectural style. An artistic rendering of what the hotel might look like will be available. GRU Space said it's interested in hosting adventurers, repeat private space flight participants, and those taking a, quote, honeymoon to the next level. Despite GRU's ambition, creating a hotel on the lunar surface is not an easy feat. No companies currently send civilians to the moon, and GRU is hoping the hotel can be completed in 6 years. And many questions remain. How will people breathe while on the moon? Who will work in the hotel? While the Moon Hotel seems unlikely to be a reality by 2032, the United States does not have ambitions to send humans there anytime soon. In December, President Donald Trump signed an executive order seeking to establish initial elements of permanent lunar outpost by 2030 to ensure a sustained American presence in the space. NASA is scheduled to launch its first moon mission in 50 years in the near future. 4 astronauts will be part of the Aramis 2 mission that will circumvent the moon during a 10-day trip slated for early this year. Though the mission does not include plans for landing on the moon, the mission will help support future moon landings. GRU Space's CEO, Skylar Chan, believes mankind is, quote, at an inflection point where we can actually become interplanetary before we die, he said in a written statement. Chan, who is 22, began the company at 21. He's managed to attract investors behind SpaceX, Anduril, a U.S. defensive technology company, and NVIDIA. I've been obsessed with space since I was a kid. I've always wanted to become an astronaut and feel extremely fortunate to be doing my life's work, Chan said. The company says it doesn't plan to just stop at the lunar hotel. Upon the hotel's completion, it wants to rebuild roads, warehouses, and other physical infrastructure on the moon before repeating the same actions on Mars. That report was by Michelle Del Rey from the Springfield News-Leader. Ramen shop in the Roundtree announces it's closing at the end of this month, according to a report by Susan Sanchez from the Springfield News-Leader. This week in 417 Foodie News, a Roundtree ramen spot is closing and a new place to grab a coffee celebrates its grand opening on Commercial Street. Plus, people with alpha-gal syndrome have another option to try. Scully's at 1427 East Cherry Street announced it will close after nearly a decade. The ramen shop's last day of service will be January 30th. In a post, which was shared on Facebook, the shop thanks customers and employees and focuses on the future. There are a lot of reasons behind this decision, but we're choosing not to dwell on them. Instead, we're focused forward. We are already working on a new adventure in the same location, and if all goes well, you'll be seeing something brand new from us around March. We'll also be doing the occasional pop-up here and there, the post said. Laura and Joe Still began their venture as a fried chicken sandwich food truck in 2016, but pivoted to Asian American fusion fare. In 2019, the Stills sold their food truck to move into the current brick-and-mortar location beside the Royal. New spot for a coffee shop. Brew 21 Extra Chromosome Coffee is serving up coffee inside the Upside Down Mercantile at 209 West Commercial Street with a grand opening which happened on January 17th. The grand opening included free donuts with the purchase of a drink. The coffee shop will be open when the Upside Down Mercantile is from 8 to 2, Wednesday through Saturdays. Our next report is from the Springfield News-Leader and Janice Reeser. Winter Jam 2026 bringing top Christian artists to Springfield in March. The Winter Jam 2026 tour is scheduled to return to arenas across the country, offering fans a chance to experience live performances from some of Christian music's biggest names. The tour, founded and produced by New Song and promoted in partnership with TPR, is expected to feature artists including Chris Tomlin, Matthew West, Katie Nicole, Holvey Discipline, Emerson Day, and New Song, according to a community announcement. The tour will visit 40 cities nationwide, including Springfield, on March 20th at Great Southern Bank Arena, located at 685 South John Q. Hammonds Parkway. For more information, you can visit their website at https://jam tour. Fans who arrive early can enjoy the pre-jam party featuring Jeremy Rossino, Health Brothers, and Clift Preston. We are in a moment in our country, one of revival and awakening that is being sparked by young people. Each night of Winter Jam is an opportunity to experience how God is continuing to move and use generations, Tomlin said in the announcement. Let's come together and let's sing and praise. Winter Jam is known for its no ticket required approach, with admission costing a $15 donation at the door. Fans can also join Jam Nation for early admission, exclusive merchandise, and opportunities to connect with artists with special Q&A sessions. Fans find more information, city-specific details, and Jam Nation registration at jamtour.com. Our next report is from The Answer Man. Reader says someone is spending a lot of effort fixing up old buildings on North Grant, but who is that? Answer Man. There's been a lot of construction, remodeling going on for what seems like a few years now at 1306 North Grant Avenue. It looks like it might be close to being finished. Someone has put a lot of time and money into this building, which is an odd location in the middle of a neighborhood. Any interest in looking into what's going on? That question was issued to the Answer Man by Scott Martin of Springfield. It's a workshop for husband and wife Mick and Paige Whitcomb, who bought the building in February 2022. Mick is an artist. It was constructed in 1906. The couple lives nearby in an old home that they have renovated. We feel strongly about improving historic buildings in our community, Mick tells me. The building was just in a state of disrepair, and we wanted to improve it and make it something that was a bit more attractive in the community. We work on it when we can. It's not a business space. He sells his art at fine art shows all across the country. I asked him about the little stage and a drum set that I saw. It's not an entertainment space open to the public either, he says. We have different family members that are musicians, he says. It's a multi-purpose space where we can work on creative things and friends and family can come by and kind of share in that. Have a trolley car purchased in Memphis. Since buying the building, the couple has added a small extension to the rear. It's the front end of an old trolley car, and it's coming out of the wall. We do an art show in Memphis, a city that we really love, he says. We had the opportunity to buy one of their old trolley cars that went back to the turn of the century, and we kind of recreated it for an additional showroom. They just ripped the cars in half, and I would imagine somebody else has the rear end of that car, he said. His art focuses on mechanical and scientific innovations of the 19th century, things like trolley cars, as well as manual typewriters. Just inside the window are several old typewriters, which certainly caught the attention of this longtime news hound. This is how Whitcomb describes his art. He says he is a Missouri-based artist who specializes in one-of-a-kind furniture and lighting made from architectural and industrial salvage. Mick travels the world sourcing unique materials for his artifacts line. Fixated on the American machine age and the advent of electric lighting, Mick converts mechanical and scientific innovations from the 19th century into a utilitarian structure. Mick pairs actual objects from the 1800s with lighting technologies that are exact reproduction of Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla's original inventions of the bulb and alternating current. He also uses items from the 1800s to the 1920s, such as telescopes, microscopes, weight scales, and tools used in electroshock therapy. The Springfield News-Leader in 2015 ran a report about Mick and Paige Whitcomb and Mick's art. They met in a political science class at Missouri State University. He was studying business and she was an English major, but later changed to art history. He was offered a job in Indonesia after graduating and he took it. They lived there and then moved to Bali. After 2 years overseas, the couple returned and opened a storefront business for art in downtown Springfield. In 2014, Mick began crafting his own art, including furniture. The building has 3,058 square feet, according to the records at the Greene County Assessor's Office. It was once a grocery store called Economy Market. I found ads from 1952 to 1969 from grocery stores at that address in the Springfield News-Leader and in the Springfield Leader and Press. Later, the building was the home of Roto Carted Equipment and later Rotecat. It sold lawnmowers, riding mowers, chippers, shredders, and tillers. It also repaired lawnmower engines. I saw newspaper ads for the business from 1977 to 2005. The Whitcombs purchased the property from Jane D. Vivelhouse, who owned the lawnmower business. Mick says it's being used for storage. It was being used for storage when he bought it. That report was from Steve Pokin, and he works for the Springfield Daily Citizen. Our next report is from the Springfield Business Journal, and it was written by their staff. A Mount Vernon woman who has been sentenced to 23 months in prison for defrauding the Missouri lottery. Amy Young, 42, was sentenced after pleading guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud, according to a news release from the office of R. Matthew Price, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Missouri. Young and co-conspirators used fraudulent credit cards and credit card numbers to buy Missouri lottery tickets at a Joplin gas station, law enforcement officials said. In July and August of 2022, Young and her co-conspirators made roughly $62,000 in fraudulent transactions and collected $54,000 in cash prizes, according to the release. Prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Patrick Carney, the case was investigated by the FBI and the Joplin Police. Our next report is also from the Springfield Business Journal. Maverick gas station property changes ownership. A convenience store property in South Springfield has changed hands. On South Campbell, the property is located at the 2700 block, which houses a net leased Maverick gas station sold for $4.4 million, according to a news release from Calabasas, California-based Marcus and Milchap, Inc., which brokered the sale. The release did not name the buyer and seller, other than to say the new owner is a California-based limited liability company. However, a Greene County recorder filing states that the Springfield Nolian Maverick LLC took ownership of the property on December 23rd from Urban Springfield Come and Go LLC. California Secretary of State records show that Springfield Nolan Maverick LLC is registered to Robert Nolan of Los Angeles. The 6,200 square foot property sits on 2 acres and was built in 2016. It has more than 10 years remaining on its lease. The store on the property was one of the locations the Salt Lake City-based Maverick took over in the 2023 acquisition. From the Springfield News-Leader and their staff reporters, unemployment claim in numbers changed in Missouri in the last week. Initial filings for unemployment benefits in Missouri dropped last week compared with the weeks prior, the U.S. Department of Labor said Thursday. New jobless claims, a proxy for layoffs, fell to 4,871 in the week ending January 17th, down from 7,306 the week before, the Labor Department said. U.S. unemployment claims rose to 200,000 last week, up 1,000 claims from 199,000 the week prior, and it has been adjusted for seasonal adjustments. Virgin Islands saw the largest percentage increase in weekly claims, with claims jumping 136%. Georgia, meanwhile, saw the largest percentage drop in new claims, with claims dropping 49%. Our next report comes from the Springfield Daily Citizen and reportee Jackie Rewald. Assault victim sues Club Rodeo for allegedly serving underage suspect excessive amounts of alcohol. A Rogersville man who was allegedly assaulted at Club Rodeo last summer is suing the Springfield nightclub, claiming the bar served the underage suspect alcohol. Hunter Rogers, 19 of Sparta, has been charged with the Class A felony of first-degree assault, serious physical serious injury. He was booked into the Greene County Jail on October 22nd, but has since bonded out. The alleged assault happened around 12:30 a.m. August 22nd, 2025 at Club Rodeo, located at 2032 West Bennett. The victim, and now plaintiff, in the civil suit filed on January 12th, suffered 2 broken bones in his nose and possibly punctured vein that caused multiple excessive nosebleeds. As a result, the victim has been admitted to the hospital multiple times and had to receive a blood transfusion, according to court documents. In the civil suit, the plaintiff alleges Club Rodeo was negligent in allowing the underage Rogers to consume alcohol before Rogers allegedly assaulted the plaintiff. Rogers is also named as a defendant in the petition, as well as Daniel Starners, the agent and resident license for the Club Rodeo. According to the probable cause statement from the criminal case against Rogers, he and a group of his friends were involved in another assault on January 7th at Club Rodeo. It does not appear Rogers was charged in connection with the January case. According to the civil suit, Club Rodeo and its bartenders, quote, served Hunter Rogers an excessive amount of alcohol, which rendered him intoxicated, and continued to serve him alcohol after he was visibly intoxicated and extremely impaired, end quote. Club Rodeo, located at 2032 West Bennett, is open to customers 18 and up, according to the website. Patrons must be 21 to be served alcohol. Club Rodeo did not immediately respond to requests for comment regarding the lawsuit. This is not the first time Club Rodeo has been sued for allegedly serving alcohol to a minor. The parents of Logan Rogersville High School student who died when his friend drunkenly crashed a vehicle in Greene County sue Club Rodeo for allegedly serving alcohol to the underage driver. The parents of Gavin Veer filed a wrongful death lawsuit on November 21, 2024, after Club Rodeo, the club's registered agent and one of the bartenders, against Club Rodeo and one of its registered agents. Benjamin Snugg, the driver, was 18 when the fatal crash happened on July 16, 2023. Veer was a passenger in Sugg's vehicle and died as a result of injuries from the crash. Sugg pleaded guilty in 2024 to the crime of driving while intoxicated, causing the death of another, and leaving the scene of an accident. He was sentenced in April to 7 years in prison. According to online court records, the wrongful death suit was recently settled with Club Rodeo and its agents, not admitting liability but agreeing to pay the plaintiff's confidential amount. That report was by Jackie Rewald from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Another report from Steve Pokin from the Springfield Daily Citizen. City knocks down a house that neighbors said was a problem. Owner says it was not his fault. The city, Thursday, January 22nd, demolished a dilapidated home in the West Central neighborhood that neighbors say for years has been a property problem, where squatters live without utilities and use drugs. They are happy the house is gone, but the owner is not. It's just been a problem for a long, long time and a source of criminal and unwanted traffic, says Dwayne Keys, president of the West Central Neighborhood Alliance. Keys has lived in the neighborhood since 2017. He says neighbors have complained to the city and to the owner about the small 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house for at least a decade. The house was built in 1906 and had 768 square feet. The house has been in its condition for so long where they've just patched it back together, he says. It doesn't have utilities. They run a generator constantly. They scrap, so there's always piles of appliances and whatever around the yard. The property is at 219 South Broadway Avenue. It's across the street from Pitt's Beard Craft and Barber, whose owner is glad to see it knocked down by the city, and he also lives nearby. In and out traffic day and night, says Aaron Pippin. You can see people walking in and obviously purchasing drugs, constantly cutting through my parking lot and going straight to the house. He says people purchase drugs at the house and then go to the rear of his building to use them. I've had people come directly from the house and try to get in behind my shop where I've got alarms and everything. When the alarms go off, they start jetting away, he says. That's my problem. I don't want them on my property after they leave that house. As far as the city is concerned, they told us they were going to do something about it years ago, he says. Then the owner of the house acted like he was going to fix it and still didn't have anything to do with it. The owner is Stan Adams, 76, of Springfield. He is a longtime real estate agent in Springfield, having started the Dorrell T. Hanks Realtor in 1981. He later worked for Carol Jones Realty and eventually started his own realty company, Springfield Realty. Keys and Pippin say they have both spoken to Adam in recent years. They tell me that Adam has consistently told them he would fix the property, but didn't. We've definitely been in contact with Stan Adam over decades, and prior to my involvement in the neighborhood organization, Keys says, he just seems to be one of those contrary guys and maybe takes even enjoyment in letting the neighborhood suffer. Adam does not live in the West Central neighborhood. It's hard to have a logical, straightforward conversation with Stan, Keys said. I called Adam and he wanted to meet in person, so he came to the Daily Citizen office where I talked with him for about an hour. You may think I'm coming in here and don't care, but I really do care about this community, Adam tells me. Adam says it's not his fault the property fell into disrepair. He didn't believe it should be demolished. I think it's the fault of the city that they did not work with the owners of the property, he says. I asked if there was more than one owner. He says his wife also might be one of the owners. It should have been repaired years ago, Adam says, and there should have been a lot to help along the way, which I did not get the help, including from the police. He also blames the city for the crime problem at the house in the West Central neighborhood. We have a major gang drug problem going on in this town, he says. I know there's a problem, and not just at that house, but in the area as a whole for years. I asked them how the gang gang problem impacted the property at 219 South Broadway Avenue. Once the tenants tore things up so bad, the gangs or homeless or whatever took over my abandoned units, he says. Adam tells me that he bought the house at 219 South Broadway in the mid-'80s. At one point years ago, he says he owned about 55 housing units in the city. Now he owns 5, including the Shamrock Court at 2238 College Street. Over the years, Adam says he has replaced the siding on the house at 219 South Broadway and put in new doors and new windows. I have spent a lot of money over there throughout the years, he says. He tells me he doesn't have the money to do the repairs the city now wants and that his health has not been that great. In addition, he says, although he owns the house, city utilities has not always notified him when his renters stop paying the utility bill and the utilities are shut off. Adam tells me I'm blaming him for the dilapidated condition of his property. It's all Stan the landlord, he says. That's what you're saying. No, I tell him, it's what the neighborhood is saying. I ask Martin Google, the city director of Building Development Services, about the house at 219 South Broadway Avenue. Why is the city demolishing the house? Since the case began back in 2023, there has been a hearing and findings of fact in July of 2023 that required the owner to repair or demolish or the city would demo. In the 2 years since, we attempted to work with the owner, but to date the violations are still present. Demolition is scheduled for Thursday, January 22nd. Has the owner been cooperative in fixing problems at 219 South Broadway? No, the owner has applied for and been issued permits since the hearing in 2023. However, very little work has been done and the violation remains. If the building is demolished, who owns it? The current owner will still own the property and the demolition costs will be assessed to the property. Multiple police calls have been made to the house. I asked for a record of the trips made to the house at 219 South Broadway Avenue by police and fire for the year of 2025 and early 2026. Here they are. January 13, 2026, assist a person. January 12th, 2026, assist a person. January 8th, 2026, check the building. January 5th, 2026, check a person. October 4th, 2025, check a person. October 3rd, check a person. September 8th, 2025, check the well-being. September 7th, 2025, check the well-being. May 23rd, emergency medical assistant, assault and robbery. May 15th, 2025, house fire. May 16th, warrant search. May 12th, 2025, check the building and an abandoned 911 call. February 25th, 2025, fire outside and check a vehicle. February 11th, warrant search. January 16th, 2025, traffic violation, non-moving. That was a lot of calls to one location. The reporter, Steve Pokin, and he works for the Springfield Daily Citizen. From the Springfield News-Leader and reporter Janice Reeser. Springfield Little Theater will stage a 9/11 musical, Come From Away. Springfield Little Theater is set to stage the internationally acclaimed musical Come From Away at the historic Landers Theater at 311 East Walnut Street from January 30th to February 15th. The production is expected to be one of the first community theater performances of the Broadway hit, according to an announcement from Springfield Little Theater. Come From Away tells the true story of Gander, Newfoundland, a small town that welcomed 7,000 stranded airline passengers after U.S. airspace was closed following the September 11, 2001 terrorist attack. The musical highlights the kindness, generosity, and resilience of the town's residents as they opened their homes and hearts to strangers in need. The show features a folk-infused score and ensemble storytelling celebrating the power of community and human connection in the face of tragedy, according to the announcement. For tickets, go online to www.springfieldlittletheater.org or call the Landers at 417-869-1334. On this day in history, in 1905, the world's largest diamond was discovered in South Africa. The diamond weighed over 1 pound and was found in the Premier Mine in South Africa. When it was presented to the mining office, however, it was dismissed as a worthless crystal and tossed out a window. It was recovered soon and after sold in 1907 to the King of Britain. The gem, which became known as the Sicilian diamond, eventually spawned 9 major stones and 96 minor stones. On this day in 2020, basketball player Kobe Bryant, who was considered one of the sport's greatest players, winning 5 NBA championships with the Los Angeles Lakers, died in a helicopter crash at the age of 41. On this day in 2001, a massive earthquake struck in India on the morning of the country's Republic Day holiday, killing more than 20,000 people, including 150,000, and causing extensive damage. On this day in 1962, Lucky Luciano, who was the most powerful chief of the American organized crime in the early 1930s, was deported to his native Italy in 1946. He died at the age of 65. In 1958, comedian and television host Ellen DeGeneres, who was known for her quirky observational humor, was born in Louisiana. Today's holidays, if you're not just experiencing a snow holiday, today's holidays for January 26th are Better Business Communication Day, and here's one I can get behind, Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day, Community Manager Appreciation Day, and also National Peanut Butter Brittle Day, followed by National Green Juice Day. Crews are working to clear Springfield roads after the weekend snowfall. This weekend finally brought some winter fun to Southwest Missouri as several inches of snow allowed Springfieldians to go sledding, make snowmen, or simply cozy up indoors. While forecasts that called for a foot or more of snow were not borne out, roadways were still covered, and colder temperatures will cause the snow to stick around for a while. Jordan DiGio, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Springfield, said the team measured 6.7 inches of snow at the station near the Springfield Branson National Airport by the end of snowfall on Sunday afternoon. Snow moved into southwest Missouri overnight on Friday, January 23rd. The amount of snow has varied across Springfield and Greene County. She said some parts of the area had recorded as much as 10 inches of snow, and it is largely due to where heavier snow bands move through, which can vary greatly, especially in this part of the country. The snowfall was accompanied by extremely low temperatures that saw wind chills flow as low as 22 degrees below zero overnight. Temperatures were expected to remain low through the next few days, with wind chills dipping below zero. While there are weak signals for a slight warm-up earlier this week, the meteorologist said the snow is likely to stick around Springfield and will thaw out very slowly. However, no additional snowfall is forecast for this week. As of this morning, most of Springfield's designated snow routes remain covered but passable. Kristen Malam, the city's senior communications coordinator, said via email that some areas were more snow-packed and harder to blade off than others, but the city's public works street operations crew were hopeful that temperatures would rise enough during the day today to be able to break through and clear some of the snow-packed roads. Because the bitter cold will persist throughout the week, Milan warned that snow that begins to melt slightly during the day will refreeze at nightfall. It is important as we start to clear snow from the roadway that drivers continue to drive according to the conditions, use caution, and watch out for black ice. We still recommend drivers staying off the roads if at all possible. Fewer drivers mean we have the space to do what we need to do to get them clear. Those deciding to get out on the road are asked to give snowplows space and not attempt to pass the snowplows. Springfield has nearly 700 lane miles of city streets that are designated as snow routes based on majority thoroughfares, traffic volumes, location of hospitals and other emergency services, schools, major employment centers are also the other factors. The Public Works crew began operation at midnight Friday night, January 23rd, and have continued operation to clear streets. The condition of highways and other state-managed roadways can be checked on the Missouri Department of Transportation's traveler information site found on their website. Due to persisting winter conditions, the Springfield City Council meeting scheduled has been postponed till February 2nd, according to the news release. Council meetings take place at 6:30 p.m. at Springfield Regional Police and Fire Training Center at 2620 West Battlefield Road. From the Springfield News-Leader, Missouri lawmakers debate eliminating sales tax on infant care items. Baby bottles, baby wipes, and breast pump supplies will be exempt from state and local sales taxes under a bill discussed by Missouri Senate Committee on Wednesday, January the 21st. The bill, sponsored by Democratic State Representative Barbara Ann Washington of Kansas City, would eliminate what she described as a, quote, parenting tax on items. Anything we can do for mothers to help the families is what I think we should be doing, Washington told The Independent. Washington said the bill complements a law passed by the General Assembly last year that excluded diapers and feminine hygiene products from the state sales tax, and state lawmakers in the Senate Committee on Economic and Workforce Development expressed support. But Washington said that she anticipates her bill will face opposition this year. The bill comes as Governor Mike Kehoe calls for the elimination of Missouri's individual income tax, and state lawmakers considered increases in sales tax to help replace revenue the state would lose. A constitutional amendment introduced on January 13th, the day of Kehoe's annual State of the State address, would allow lawmakers to raise state and local sales taxes, quote, for the purpose of reducing and eliminating the state individual income tax, end quote. Though Kehoe said in his speech that he would not tax agriculture, healthcare, or real estate, the proposed amendment, if passed by Missouri voters, would authorize state lawmakers to tax, quote, transactions involving any goods and services, end quote. Kehoe's budget proposes cutting $600 million in general revenue expenditures in fiscal 2027, and the governor, in his speech, warned lawmakers against reversing his recommended cuts or introducing new spending items. Washington says she doesn't think Missouri's dwindling revenues and diminishing surplus should rule out measures to help families that are in need. Quote, if we let rich people not pay taxes on capital gains, why can't we let the working people have a benefit as well, end quote, Washington said. State lawmakers last year repealed Missouri's capital gains tax despite concerns at the time that the revenue losses projected by the state for the measure were inaccurate. The state now anticipates that the tax cut will cost about $500 million in revenue during the current fiscal year and then $360 million annually, more than triple the original estimates. Parents spend an average of $60 to $150 on baby bottles during a child's first year, according to an estimate from the State Revenue Department. Though most insurance companies cover the cost of a basic breast pump, according to that estimate, 40 to 55% of parents pay an additional $70 to $200 to purchase an upgraded pump. The physical note for Washington's bill indicates it could cost the state roughly $1.8 million in fiscal year 2027 and then $2.4 million annually. State lawmakers praised Washington's proposed legislation and other bills sponsored by Senator Mike Moon, an Ash Grove Republican, that would give a $2,400 tax exemption to taxpayers during the year of their child's birth. State Senator Adam Schnelling, a Republican from St. Charles, voiced support for Washington's bill. Anytime I can get on board with reducing or eliminating taxes and encouraging a higher birth rate and encouraging families to grow, I think it's a good bill, Schnelling said. Ryan Deboff, testifying on behalf of Cross Lines Community Outreach, which runs the Diaper Bank of the Ozarks, described the bill as, quote, a nice resource to make these kinds of products more accessible for our neediest, end quote. While the bill in its current form would exempt infant care products from state and local sales tax, Washington said she is open to an amendment leaving the local tax intact. Washington said that for mothers struggling to make ends meet, the bill is, quote, more than pennies and the dimes that they'll save. It keeps more money in the pockets of Missourians, especially as we are challenging affordability at this time, Washington said. It reduces the toxic stress that leads to poor health for the mother, which in turn leads to poor health for her baby. Again, that story was from the Springfield News-Leader and reporter Stephen Quinn. From the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield adopts a new fire code with updated standards. Springfield has adopted the 2024 International Fire Code, bringing new fire and life safety standards to the city. The City Council approved the updated code January 12th after a review led by the Springfield Fire Department and Fire Chief David Pennington, according to a community announcement. The update process began in summer 2025 and included an evaluation of changes made between 2018 and 2024 in the editions of the code. Fire officials met with community partners, industry stakeholders, and others to review proposed updates and ensure they aligned with Springfield's development and safety needs. City officials said the new code strengthens fire and life safety precautions while supporting economic development and efficient project planning. The update also incorporates national best practices and reflects evolving construction methods, building uses, and safety technologies. The council previously approved a small project permit intended to streamline fire and life safety approvals for limited scope projects. The permit allows qualifying work to move forward without engineered stamp plans, reducing time and costs while keeping required safety oversight in place. The adoption of the 2024 International Fire Code reflects Springfield's commitment to public safety and thoughtful regulation, said Jim Luden. He is the Division Fire Chief and Community Risk Reduction. The previously approved small project permit complements this update by improving efficiency and predictability for our development partners while maintaining appropriate life safety oversight. The code and permitting provisions took effect under the adoptive ordinance. For more specifics and application information, visit springfieldmo.gov. From the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield School Board unanimously extends the superintendent's contract. The Springfield School Board has unanimously approved a fifth contract extension for Superintendent Gretna Latham. After an annual evaluation, the SPS Board approved a one-year extension of Latham's contract through the 2028-2029 school year, according to an SPS News release. Latham has served as the district superintendent since July 2021. In our assessment of the previous year, the board noted significant improvements in academic achievement across all student groups, strong relationships with community stakeholders, and the effective implementation of systems to drive positive outcomes district-wide, Board President Junie Bruner said in the release. The personnel matter was discussed and voted on in a closed session as permitted by the state's Sunshine Law. Strengths highlighted by the board during the evaluation included for 3 consecutive years seeing improvement in overall performance and attendance rate, a new training for paraprofessionals aimed at proactive behavioral practices, and continuing intentional efforts to build and strengthen relationships with community stakeholders. Latham's salary is just over $368,000, with an annual increase based on increase given to the other employee group. Her contract beyond the extension will remain the same, the district's Chief Communication Officer Stephen Hall confirmed. It is such an honor to serve Missouri's district of choice, and I thank each member of Team SPS for the focus and dedication they have demonstrated over the past year. It has been this team's exceptional commitment to academic achievement for all students that has led to important gains, Latham said in a release. While we celebrate together, we recognize that much more work remains. Together, guided by our strategic plan, we can continue making significant progress, achieving even greater milestones. Previous contract extensions have also been largely unanimous, approved except for 2024, and that extension passed with a 4-3 vote. From the Springfield Daily Citizen, Missouri State ends rare 4-game road swing. This report was updated yesterday. Missouri State's basketball team is headed home by putting a happy exclamation point on the program's longest conference road stretch in 41 years. Storming back from a 10-point halftime deficit, the Bears beat UTEP 62-57 on Saturday at the Don Haskins Center in El Paso, Texas, 2 days after upending New Mexico State. Kobe Williams scored 16 of his game-high 21 points in the second half of the Missouri State 12-8 overall 6-3 CUSA, wound up splitting the 4-game, 2-week road swing. It's always great to go out on the road and to get road dubs as a team, the team said via a phone interview. We knew we had to put our heads down and do what was needed to win on the road. Everybody on the team locked in for that second half, and Coach got us going. After a lethargic first half in which Missouri State shot 28% with 8 turnovers while falling behind 31-21, it was a complete turnaround for the rest of the way. The Bears shot 65% in the second half while holding the Miners 7-13 to his 28% seizing control. Missouri lottery fraud scheme sends Mount Vernon woman to prison. A Mount Vernon woman has been sentenced to 23 months in prison for defrauding the Missouri lottery. Amy Young, 42, was sentenced after pleading guilty conspiracy to commit wire fraud, according to a news release from the office of R. Matthews Price, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Missouri. From 417 magazines, this week from 417 magazine, best restaurants in Springfield, Missouri. There's 5 best restaurants listed: Avanzari, Flame Steakhouse, Jim's Steakhouse, Metropolitan Grill, and the Ozark Mill. The Blind Community Thrift Store is a spacious 17,000 square foot thrift store located in Springfield, Missouri. It holds the distinction of being the first retail store worldwide to incorporate Navi lens technology, which significantly enhances accessibility for the blind, visually impaired, and non-English speaking individuals. This innovative system enables customers to navigate and shop with minimal assistance, fostering independence and confidence. The store operates as a nonprofit organization dedicated to generating funds that support the provision of adaptive technology training for the blind and visually impaired community, often at little to no cost. Visitors can learn more about the organization and access its services by visiting the store in person at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri, or by exploring the website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The website offers comprehensive information about the store's mission, services, and opportunities for community involvement, as well as details about the free store available to Springfield's and the residents' community. From the Springfield News-Leader, bill legalizes driverless cars. It has now cleared the Missouri House Committee. The push to allow Waymo driverless taxis to operate in Missouri cleared the first hurdle Tuesday evening, January 20th. The House Emerging Issues Committee voted 7-4 along partisan lines to advance two identical bills sponsored by Republican State Representative Don Mayhew of Crocker and Brandon Phelps of Warrensburg. The bill had received strong support from advocates for the disabled, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer during the 3-hour public hearing last week. But committee members heard fervent opposition from numerous Teamster commercial drivers who argue the legislation is, quote, a job killer because it opens the door for driverless trucks on the highway. The bill also faced opposition from first responders and school bus drivers who raised public safety concerns. Tom Mullins, a St. Louis firefighter with Teamsters Local 610, said at last week's hearing that other cities have struggled with keeping, quote, robo-taxis out of emergency scenes or getting them to move to the side of the road when their sirens are on. Delays in every second can make a life or death difference in property preservation and human survival, Mullins said. Emergency crews have had to physically intervene, smashing windows to force the vehicle to stop or physically stand in front of an autonomous vehicle to keep it from entering the scene. Lori Becker, CEO of St. Louis-based Starcraft Disability Institute, urged the committee to think about people with disabilities and those who have, quote, transit limiting conditions, end quote. Becker said she and others face challenges with Uber drivers who would feel, quote, more safe being in a car independently. I don't have to rely on someone's judgment or availability or get their permission to get a ride somewhere. I can just go, Becker said, and that's a right that we all deserve. So it's about our rights, it's about our dignity, and it's also about putting more money back into the economy. Democratic lawmakers from Kansas City noted the legislation would prevent local governments from banning self-driving cars and services in their cities. All 3 Kansas City members of the committee voted against the bills. State Representative Emily Weber, a Democrat from Kansas City, asked Phelps and Matthews if they'd spoken with the city's police chief about the impacts of the bill, specifically about training first responders to interact with the cars. We're having issues hiring police officers and first responders, Weber said. So now you're adding additional new training, and it seems like neither of you have had conversations with the areas that are going to be affected by this. Mayhew said that he had had numerous conversations with the leadership in St. Louis. Representatives from the St. Louis Mayor's office spoke in support of this legislation, saying the city is already partnering with Waymo Cars as a test site. Waymo is only allowed to test the cars in manual mode with a driver until a state law is passed permitting driverless cars. St. Louis Democrat State Representative Elizabeth Fuse voted against the bill. After St. Louis was announced as a test site, Waymo hired 4 Missouri Capitol lobbyists in November to help push for the legislative bill. The legislation requires a law enforcement plan be submitted to the Department of Public Safety detailing how to communicate with, quote, a fleet specialist, end quote, and how to take the cars off the road if needed. The vehicles must remain at the scene of a crash as required by current law, and crashes or collisions involving autonomous vehicles must be reported. Autonomous vehicle taxis would operate under the same rules as taxis and other for-hire passenger transport systems, it states, and commercial vehicles would abide by commercial vehicle laws. This story was first published by the MissouriIndependent.com and was updated by Rebecca Riveras. Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU subcarrier airwaves, 67 kilohertz on 91.9 from 3 to 5 Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.